note.
Let me tell you something. We're having a dog, fest here.
The dogs are going to get shot. Ready?
Dogs are going to get shot and stolen. Let's go live on Moods for real estate agents.
I love it.
Just don't be Lady Gaga's dog walker.
Right. We're just waiting, guys. Those of you coming in here, we're just waiting to go live on Facebook. We're going to be talking about mood maintenance today, how to stay balanced in a challenging market.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about?
Mood market. It's called meditation.
Yeah, we'll chat about it. We'll talk through it. There's all sorts of good things we can talk about today.
Where's Bianca?
Lots going on.
We are live, guys. We're talking about mood maintenance, how to stay balanced in a challenging market, right? And I'm hesitant to even call it challenging. Let's just call it an interesting market. When we wrote this topic, I was using that word, but now I decided, you know what? I'm not even using that word anymore. I'm just gonna say it's an interesting market because it's interesting, right? So I'm joined with I'm Jesse Zagorski. I'm joined with Janki Patel from Northern California. What's up, Janki?
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So her mood is up today. You can tell, right? We need we'll create mood rings. We'll talk about that too.
Because I did a webinar before with Jake and Sandra and someone and Chris Dyson, and now I'm doing one with you guys. So
Nice.
Up and coffee.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And we Jim Godwin's here from Kansas City. What's up, Jim?
What's up?
Both of these are wonderful agents. I'm from Southern California, San Diego. Both of these agents sell a ton of homes. They're very experienced realtors, but we are talking for the Emotional Gymnastics for Real Estate Agents series. We're doing mood maintenance, how to stay balanced in a challenging market. And Jim, I'm going to have you start it off because you had thrown out a concept that I really didn't know what it meant, but like you had said emotional neutrality. So emotional neutrality in this interesting market. What does that mean? Emotional neutrality.
Not getting caught up, basically, not getting caught up in the ups and downs of the market with your clients, with your family, with, the talk of the town and what's going on. Are we going to get inventory? You're not going to get inventory, clients losing 15 offers in a row. If you get caught up in that, you're going to get burned out very, very quickly. And so it's, for me, it's just realizing that I can't go on the emotional roller coaster with everyone else because I have to maintain balance. And so I always look for ways to stay balanced in a transaction and in life. So.
And I'm watching Janki nod her head. Do you agree when you get caught up in that chaos, does that tend to lead to burnout for you too?
While I'm eating a power bar, guys, this is my breakfast to lunch. I mean, it's been crazy, but it's been one of those mornings. Every other Friday when I come on Emotional Gymnastics, it's like, oh my God, this is it. After this, I'm after seeing clients, and the morning is always so busy. But anyway, I agree with Jim. I totally do, because you cannot be stalemate. You got to continue. We have so many challenges, or, so many, like you said, challenges is the right word. We have so many obstacles before our buyer can get into a home. Mm-hmm. And that's created by, the inventory, the market, right? And where do we stand in our mood set at that point, right? We cannot stalemate ourselves and say, okay, well, let's just, turn this off and take a break and let the buyer go and do whatever they want. We got to continue. We got to help them and find different things. Think out of the box. That's what I say. Think out of the box of how you can make this happen. Like, how can you accomplish that goal for them?
Yeah, and so on that, and we can come back to emotional neutrality, but you just said something about, when you're looking at the other agent. So in terms of empathy, right? Yeah, I think one of the things that we've kicked around a lot is the idea of empathy for the agent on the other side. Just like it's a challenging market or an interesting market for you, it's an interesting market for them. If you're on the buyer side, you're dealing with a listing agent that's receiving 20, 30, 40 offers. If you're a listing agent, you're dealing with buyer's agents that have submitted 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 offers for a client without getting accepted. So I think having that empathy for the agent on the other side can often help this go smoother. What do you think, Jonky?
I think it's so important. And I know, Jim, you were about to say something, but a thought just came into my mind. I think it's so important to know as realtors, not as listing or buyer's agents, as realtors, as a community as a whole, know that you're going to be in their shoes anytime. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be a listing agent, and or the listing agent will be the buyer's agent, at any given time. So feel that empathy for that person. I hate it when real listing agents say, well, I can't reveal that. Okay. Is there a law that really says I cannot reveal the price? Is there? Why do you not want to help them? What is the reason? Is it, and that's the thing. Do you have a chip on your shoulder as a listing agent? Let's think about this, Jesse, right? Jim, let's think about this. Is that, do we as realtors and or listing agents, do we have a chip on our shoulder to say, well, I can't tell you that, or I can't give away the price? Oh, do your best terms, best price. Give them a little bit more than that is what I say. Feel the pain that they're going through.
Well, but you can be empathetic without giving away more, because for some agents that may be a negotiation tactic, right? Or a strategy. So I'm okay. Like, if I'm having empathy for them, I can understand where they're coming from and saying, I'm not going to share anything, right? Because it's just easier and cleaner to say that way. You're not being unfair, treating everyone the same. I'm just not going to say anything to anyone. But it can be delivered in a way where you're still sharing empathy for the agent on the other side.
Exactly. Come from a point of where, listen, I can share this much with you. And that's exactly what I say is that, okay, you know what I can and cannot share. However, I want to share this with you. I want to let you know this. That's how I say it, because I don't know when I'll have a deal again with that person, and I'm in that situation right now where they have the listing. 2 months ago, I had a listing, right?
Or you just say something to them like, this is the information that I'm sharing with all agents.
Right.
This is exactly what I'm telling everyone else. And this is, I can't say anything more or less. I want to make sure that everyone is having the same fair shake at it. And this is the information that I'm giving to everyone. What I really have been doing lately, especially with all these offers that are coming in on listings, is taking the time to call the agents back after an offer has been accepted and explaining to them why they went with another offer.
Tell me more. That's interesting.
Yeah. So this is the biggest complaint that I hear and I get is that, you put all these offers in on properties and you get a text message saying your offer wasn't accepted. Well, that doesn't really help our industry very much. It doesn't help with the agent on the other side feeling confident with their buyer. It doesn't give them any information to go back and say, this is what we need to change next time so that we can maybe be competitive next time. It's not giving any information to anybody. And it's like, why are you withholding all that information? I know the most common answer is I'm too busy to call these people back. But I think if you think that you're too busy, then something is going on with the infrastructure of how you're running the business. It's not being leveraged properly, or you just think that you don't have the time to do it. You do have the time to do it. In my opinion, you do have the time to do it.
Right. If you only take maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes to call all those realtors back and say, the reason why your offer wasn't accepted, if you must know, if you do need to know, is blah, blah, blah. I think that's coming from contribution to give them a tool to better perform, their offer in the next deal.
You're going to work with that person again at some point in time, and you're going to be on the other side of that transaction. And when you're on the other side of it and you can actually go back to your buyer and say, hey, this is the reason why we didn't get it. Next time when we put an offer and we need to maybe waive a little bit more of the appraisal contingency and maybe we'll get the next offer. But unless you have that information given to you, then how would you know?
So when you're having those conversations, how do they go typically? People happy, they appreciative?
The buyers?
The buyer's agents, because if you're reaching out to buyer's agents, how are those conversations going?
They're extremely grateful. Extremely grateful. Like we never get this. And again, it's you being a contribution to the industry that you love so much. So why not take that extra 10 minutes and be a contribution instead of part of, I don't want to say part of the problem, but part of the current status quo.
Right.
Be the different, make a difference, somehow be the difference, right? I mean, we have to change something here. We all know we all have low inventory. We all know the situations that we're going through, but let's try to see what we can do differently and be the solution to it. Right.
I love that idea. So before we move on from empathy, go ahead, Jim. You got something else you want to add?
I was just going to say, the market that we're in right now is not sustainable. It can't go on forever, and it's going to balance back out. And the people that you're kind to in this market, when it's difficult to be kind, will be kind to you when it balances back out. It will come back around to you. It's not, our markets that we're in are not that big. You deal with a lot of the same people all the time.
Right. I totally agree with that, because even in this local area, I see the same realtors, that are listing and selling and listing and selling. And so, when out of area realtors come in, I also say, be empathetic to them too, because you never know who's going to be on your next deal.
Even like the big, massive listing agents that have a huge market share, eventually they're going to work with a buyer. And when they work with a buyer and you call them up and you do something like this to them, it will have an effect. Yeah. It will have an effect. It may plant a seed for them to say, wow, this is different. This is something maybe we should implement. I'm not saying that, mega agents have the time to do this, but train someone to do it. Have somebody in your office do it. Have someone on your team do it. Have somebody do it.
Right. It's not a tremendous use of resources. I agree. Interesting. It's a really good idea, and it does help go a long way for empathy like that. Mm-hmm. Interesting. On the buyer side, if you're representing a buyer, is there anything empathetically, before we move on, that you guys do or you think we should do in terms of listing agents? Because listing agents, even though like life is good as a listing agent right now, right? You get all those offers. It still is stressful and a little extra. Like you guys know, you're on the listing side. It is a little stressful having all those offers come in and balancing that flood of information.
I mean, working on the listings prior, working on the listings, getting them ready for the market, getting the whole enchilada done. I mean, that is in itself, a lot of work, getting all the vendors to, go to the property and get the work done, or whatever, inspectors to go out there. And, it is work. It is a lot of work. It's not just like, hey, I got a listing and just put it on MLS. No. So before and after, there's a lot of work.
So as a buyer's agent, or someone working on the buy side of a transaction, is there anything you would do, could do, should do, or just to remember that empathetically think about the fact that, hey, this person's going through something on the other side also?
With the buyer you're talking about?
No, as a buyer's agent, right? I mean, we're just talking about empathy for agents on either side. If you're on one side of the transaction, how do you remember to have empathy for the agent on the other side?
Try not to take it personally when you don't get called back.
Yeah. I mean, when they don't call you or email you, give you that personal attention, it's okay. Yeah. It really is okay. Use the resources you have and continue dialing them. Or also, send an email, a text message, Yeah.
Use it as a tool to find a way for people to get to return your call. Use it as a training tool to say, what else can I do? I know there's something else that I can do to get people to call me back. What is it?
Right. But I think what you guys mentioned, though, I just love, because we spent 5 minutes talking about how it's really wonderful that Jim, as a listing agent, you do call the agents back. But then on the buyer side, if you don't get a call back, that's okay too, right? Because this is what I see, especially just reading like in Lab Quit Agents community, in the message boards, talking to other agents in my community, talking to the agents on a regular basis. It's this cycle of frustration that like you just start focusing on the negative. And I'm not saying that you're going to stop yourself from doing it, but when I catch myself doing that, that's when I want to pivot out of, okay, you know what? They're doing the best they can with what they got. And that helps me focus on something different than just judging them for not calling me back.
Yeah, if I am constantly upset at listing agents for not returning my calls, when I get a listing, what do you think the first thing I'm going to do is? I'm not going to return any phone calls because I'm holding that against everyone. And if they're not going to call me, I'm not going to call them.
But is that the kind of community we want to continue building out? I mean, see, that's as professionals and as customer service based industry, do we want to continue that kind of trend?
Yeah.
If you're a trendsetter, you want to do something differently, right?
And that's what granular with it. Like, we forget that's doing business that way is not necessarily the best thing for the people we're representing. We're not buying and selling. We're representing a party that, you know, has an interest, and they're paying us to do the right thing. And
exactly,
you know, I think we forget that sometimes.
So let's change gears slightly here, because I have a note written down that I'm trying to remember, Jim, where you were going with this, because this is fun now. So we were talking about challenges in this market, and Jonky, you'll like this one. Jim said there's the shrapnel of COVID in this market. You remember saying that, Jim, the shrapnel of COVID? Like, what did you mean when you talk about in terms of challenges in our market right now? What is the shrapnel of COVID? Let
me try to place back what I was talking about when I said that. I think that I was talking about the fact that the inventory that we have now is the leftover of last year when people were so afraid to put their house on the market. We had a bunch of inventory at the time, and you know, everyone was afraid to do anything. So we ran through all of our inventory, and now what we're seeing now is kind of the shrapnel of the COVID pandemic that just took this long for it to actually take place.
Yeah, interesting. I think also when you said, I don't know if this is what you intended, but what it made me think of is just the changes in consumer behavior that are still lingering from COVID, right? So when you have just when you have meetings now, so some states are opening where we don't need masks. Some states still have masks. Some people wear masks, some people don't. It's just, and I'm not positioning one side or the other here. I'm not promoting one side or the other. It's this lingering thing in terms of an emotional level and the way you engage with your client that still has left an imprint on the way any face-to-face business is done for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, it really has changed the way we do business. I was never on Zooms. What is Zoom? You know, before COVID started, it's like, what is Zoom, right? And now I'm all day, every day on Zoom. Instead of doing face-to-face meets and greets with my buyers or my sellers, we Zoom it out, right? And then I go to the property, and of course with a mask. That's how it was last year, and it was a new thing. And I believe and I think that this trend is going to continue because that has added some more flexibility in our schedules, right? Instead of running around appointment after appointment after appointment. Yeah, as a buyer's agent, it's different. But as a listing agent, you know, talking and communicating with your clients right here on Zoom, that's made a huge difference in our business, right? And that has changed the mood. That has changed the mindset. That has changed business as we did before. So yeah, it does change a lot of things.
All right. So with some of these challenges, what do you guys do to distract yourself? Because I'm a big believer of, like, you got to have a pattern interrupt in your own head, right? Yeah. Those of you who's watching this, if you want to type in what you do to distract yourself, type it in the chat box. I'd love to know. But if you find yourself getting into this cycle of frustration, which is natural, it's okay that you're feeling that. How do you distract yourself? What do you do to stop that cycle? Jake says video games.
I love that, Jake, because that's what my son does, video games. He'll just distract himself real quickly. 2 things is what I do, is read a good book. Just take my mind off of real estate, read a book or watch a show really quickly. Just take my mind off it, or meditate. Calm myself down, calm my inside head down, and think of something different, or even run away to the beach.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love them. Well, and Jim, what about you? What do you distract yourself?
Right now, WandaVision. That's so good.
I started that, and then I got bored.
Really?
I did.
You kind of have to be a comic book geek to like get into it, because it's so like in the weeds. And I'm not that person, but still, like, I know I've watched enough Marvel
My husband loves Marvel. So Jesse, what do you do?
What do? I exercise. I'll go for a run. Yeah. I've noticed midday, if I don't have any appointments in the afternoon, I will get out and just go for a run. Just like 30 minutes makes me feel so much better. Mm-hmm. It absolutely changes my head. I rarely would watch a show in the middle of the day, usually like late at night. If my wife is watching something, I'll pop it on, and that is a good like passive, but I'm more into the active relaxation side. So the moving my body, meditation. I don't meditate as much midday like you do. I'm more early morning.
But midday, what I do is I actually go for a walk, a midday walk. Like I'll do a morning walk with my husband and a midday, mid-afternoon walk with him. That is so peaceful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you follow this, but there's a lot of, without getting too physiological on the Eastern schools of thought, but there's a reset period in the afternoon, evening when you transition from your work until your play, where you want to recreate and reestablish that brain-body connection. It's really important. And if you follow that natural cycle, whether it's a challenging market or you're happy, it still helps. I think it
helps. It really does help. It just relaxes the mind completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll wrestle with my 5-year-old. Like I'll purposely go and be like, hey, you want to wrestle? Like, cause he loves like getting like physical like that. So as I'm transitioning from work, that definitely helps clear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do that too.
Wrestle with your 5-year-old?
I have a 21-year-old. I have a 22-year-old and a 25-year-old. So no wrestling there.
No wrestling.
You have a golden that my son will wrestle with, and I'll just watch him and get annoyed. Like, what the heck are you guys doing?
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, if you think of other things for distraction, we had Kathy typed in the box that she gets outside and does easy gardening. I love it. That being outdoors really helps, right? Walk around the neighborhood, talk with the neighbors. I mean, and you are probably prospecting while you do that too, without even trying, but there you go. But just the gardening and getting outside. I think there's something about if you sit inside all day, like a lot of us do these days, like real estate used to be a lot more outdoor profession.
Outdoors, yeah.
I mean, if you're out showing properties, I suppose it still is, but I spend a lot more time indoors these days than I used to. Do you guys also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why like one thing that I do is I get up and just go outside, even just being in the sun for 10 minutes, just feeling the sun and getting recharged that way. It feels good.
Right? Oh yeah. Just a fresh air,
Yeah, fresh air in the sun.
We do the mid-morning walks and a total of two miles, easily 2 to 3 miles a day. Just go out there mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and mid-evening, right after dinner. It just clears the headspace, and you see other people, you see other dogs walking around, and it's a different feeling, Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
One other thing I've been experimenting with over the past couple of weeks is setting an alarm every hour. And so the first 5 minutes of every hour, I do a 5-minute exercise routine.
Ooh. Yeah.
So it's just like 20 push-ups, 20 jumping jacks, 20 lunges, 20 burpees.
Oh wow!
And then just stop. It's just 5 minutes is all it takes.
Wow. And have you been doing it consistently?
Yeah.
Have you noticed a difference?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, we're not supposed to be sitting as human beings. We're supposed to be sitting all day. So like, if you can stand up at your desk, you have a stand-up desk. That's great. I know a lot of people are doing like treadmill desks now. Yeah, that's cool too. Just anything that you can do for to get yourself up and getting blood flow going throughout the day is very helpful.
And my iPhone will remind me it's time to get up. It'll start beeping. So.
But do you listen to it when it does?
I do.
Okay.
I do listen to it because I'm very conscious of it. The reason why I am is if I sit too long, I have a sciatic nerve pain. I have to stretch, I have to continuously stretch. So if I sit too long, that pain is unbearable.
Got it. One thing I've done, if it's not too windy in the area where you guys are, I've started being really conscious of if something needs to be a Zoom call or can just be a phone call. Right. And at first during COVID, I loved Zoom. I wanted everything to be Zoom. And now I'm to the point where it's like a luxury to just have a phone call and not have to be on camera. And so if something just needs to be a phone call, I don't need to be in front of a computer. I'll make it a phone call and I'll go walk around my office. Like I have a little hill that goes up. It's like 4-minute loop. And I will just I pace normally when I'm on the phone anyway. So that's been really good for me to change that focus to look for opportunities to shift away from, this doesn't need to be a Zoom. Just make a phone call. Like I just did a Zoom before this where the person was like, it was just me and one other person. And because when you book on my calendar, it just gives you a Zoom. And he was driving in his car to go meet a client. He had like a last minute showing pop up. I'm like, dude, we can just do a phone call. And he's like, no, we can Zoom. But it was so interesting to watch because we were, I get caught in that habit also.
Mm-hmm. If there's people that are like either injured or can't get outside for whatever reason, it's bad, it's a gloomy day, there's other things that you can do to exhilarate yourself, find an old friend in your phone that you haven't talked to in like a year or two and pick up the phone and send a video text message. Hey, just was thinking about you popped into my mind. Like when you reach out and, start to do things for other people, it lights you up inside. It's kind of how we're wired. So like, do something for somebody, do something nice for somebody without expecting anything in return. You'll get immediately energized.
I love that.
All the time. Anytime anytime I do it. And like Jesse was saying, when I have phone calls, I'm pacing around, right? I'm moving. I can't stand still. I can't sit still. Even on my day off, what is that actually? Sometimes when I do take some time off, it's like I'm always doing something or the other. And so, when you do something for yourself, but then you do more for others, it's just, I don't know, it's a different feeling that evokes inside of you, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. I love that. But I love that the do something nice for someone else without expecting anything in return. Is that what you said, Jim?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had to learn that lesson many times in my life. I used to be that person that would never give money to homeless because I thought that, as soon as I gave money to them, they were going to go out and buy drugs or alcohol with it. And then I was contributing to that problem. But the act of giving has nothing to do with the receiver.
Yeah.
It's like the point of it, the reason why you're doing it has nothing to do with what they're going to do with it after you give it to them. It's the person you are, or the person you are being in that moment. That's the thing that like is our human nature, and the act of giving without any attachment at all, positive or negative. That act of giving is really what it's all about.
And while you say that, my son or my daughter, when they see someone out outside a grocery store, they'll stop by and say, "Can I get you something to eat?" Yeah. Or outside a restaurant, "Can I get you something to eat? What would you like?" Yeah. And that just is such a good and I feel so proud when they do that. And it just, as a mother, it gives me such a good feeling of fulfillment that, what, I did do my job as a good parent, Mm-hmm. I did do something right.
Yeah.
To instill that in them. But it's a good feeling. It is, without expecting anything in return.
Yeah, and I've given money to somebody and watched them go buy alcohol with it.
We did too. A bottle of
Yeah, and but I can't let that affect my decision to be a compassionate human being. I have no control over what happens to, like money is energy. And as soon as that energy leaves my hand, I have zero control of what happens to that. But if I keep it, then I stop the flow. So
that's the way to look at it. Mm-hmm. If you keep it, you stop the flow.
Right.
Wow. Pretty interesting.
That's deep. I love it. What?
That's a whole.
No, my brain's just going like, oh, I like it. This is deep. We're getting deep on a Friday afternoon. All right, I'm gonna bring us back there for a minute because on a future topic we should talk about money as energy. That's an interesting one, and about money flowing to you, flowing away, stopping the flow, keeping. I like that. Remind me, Jim. That's a good topic for another week.
I love that topic because that is definitely something that I want to talk about as well.
Yeah, hopefully that's something that people want to hear.
Why not? I would love to, hear something like that because, again, it is about the universe and what is it that you're feeling, what is it that you're thinking, and how you are acting. All aligns together to actually have the result of what you want in life. Yeah. Think about that. It's the secret, right?
Oh, it totally is. That's totally, no, I love it. All right. Let's wrap up on mood maintenance. We got about 10 minutes left. I'll make sure if there's anything else you guys wanted to talk about, we were going to talk a little bit about balance, which is a really polarizing word. Some people love it. Some people are like, nope. So I see Janki shaking your head, and Jim, I think you might've had a definition. Like how do you define balance?
I think we touched on it a little bit earlier. For me, balance is just about not being caught up in the situation that's happening, and to be neutral as possible in every situation, in every scenario. So, that also relates to like being balanced yourself in your work and your play and your family and your diet and your exercising and all of the things that, we're addicted to. Like it all relates to the same thing, is trying to come back to balance with all of your emotions and feelings and thoughts and all of it. And don't get pulled one way or another by the circumstances of your life.
So for you, it ties into emotional neutrality. When I said balance, Janki, you were definitely shaking your head. Or you're not a fan of balance?
I love balance. Oh my goodness, I love balance. But do I have it? Do I have that balance? I did, a couple of months ago. But as you grow, it's like, as you stretch the rubber band, you're stretching it. You got to be careful you don't break it, right? I am not at that point where it's going to bust. I'm at a point where the balance is like, okay, all right, I'm stretching it because we're building our team and it's growing, which I love, and the training that goes into it. And, finally I had to hire my director of ops. I had to finally hire another director of ops. And I needed to make that balance between both of them to run the entire team, right? But that is a learning curve for them, for me to train and, make sure the systems are all taken care of. And of course, that's for a different webinar. But balance, the word balance is so overrated, in my opinion, that where do you see that balance? To each its own, but it is so overrated. I can't seem to find the right balance. No matter what I do in my day, is there a balance? Like right after this, I have maybe an hour and then I'm running off to show properties, and then tomorrow and total, both days, I've got about 6 clients myself that I'm back to back showing, let alone my buyer's agents, right? So where is the balance?
But that's the thing, is I don't think there is to me, it's always, I think what most people think of their concept of balance doesn't really exist. You're never going to have equal parts of work and play and like at different phases of your life, you're going to have different things. So I like Jim's idea of tying it into more of the goal is not balance to be equal in all areas. The goal is emotional neutrality, that you feel centered. I think centered to me is a better concept than
strive for the balance. Are you centered? What are you doing to stay grounded and to actually keep that emotional balance mentally, right? I think that is what we're looking for, not the physical.
The deal with balance is that it's experiential,
right?
So you have to figure it out for yourself, and it means something different for everyone. And you can't know balance. It's impossible. You have to experience balance. The greatest analogy that I ever heard about this is when the first time you rode a bike. And when you ride a bike, you fall and you get up and you fall and you get up and fall. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, as if the world just expanded, you find balance. And you're like, oh, this is balance. But try describing and explaining balance to somebody. Mm-hmm. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
It's impossible until you know it for yourself. So Janky, the point is to continue the growth process and experiencing what that means for you. And that's the important part.
Right. And all along, I feel that I'm not balanced, but yet I am. I am grounded because I am doing my meditation, and I am grounded because I go for my walks. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about balance, there is really nothing, how do you define that? Right? Because I'm doing it. I feel like I am, but yet there's something in my mind, because there's something that says, well, you're not taking a day off, or you're not, but I'm doing it every day. So it doesn't feel overwhelming, right? Mm-hmm. That is what the question should be like. What is the fine balance during your day, your day-to-day routine? Where is the balance at, right? How do you define that? You know, a good barometer is, your health. Yeah. Your mental health. Are you tired all the time? Are you unhappy? Are you angry with people all the time? Do you tend to overeat? Are you not sleeping? These things are like the gauges that life gives us to figure out if we are balanced or not. Right. If those things are out of whack, if we're not sleeping because we're scared all the time, or we're like overworked and all you're thinking about is like what you have to do the next day, then maybe you're out of balance. Or if you have to, eat fast food all the time to feel better, something's out of balance.
So if you were watching this and if someone's like, I felt like that before, I'm feeling like that now. Like if you realize I am frustrated, or I do feel unhappy often, what is the first thing that most people to do? I know we only have a few minutes, so I can't get too deep into it, but is there a first step, or is it different for everybody?
Pull back and write down what is it that you're feeling at that moment. Mm-hmm. Write it down. And then the next step is to try and see, how can you tackle it? What is something you will enjoy to enjoy doing to tackle that one particular issue that you have going? Going back to Jim, what he said earlier, I agree with him to where I have never felt more healthier, more stronger mentally and emotionally. I've never felt this. Although I am, the team is building, there's a level of calmness inside of me, which is very strange for me. Very strange for me. As I'm growing up, I'm calming. Just strange. I don't know.
I love it. I love it. All right. So I got one more thing that I want to throw out there. It's kind of fun that we were joking around with. This will tie in. So as you're growing, you're calming. So if you had a mood ring on, Janky, right? If we made mood rings for real estate agents, and you could put it on your client to put it on you. So as you're calming, your mood ring's turning, I don't know, maybe blue color. Yeah. We were just joking around, like, is there a way that obviously they don't exist in real life? You don't wear a mood ring, but if your clients were to see yours, so does it make sense to try to code your clients to communicate to your clients how you're feeling? Do you always need to keep on a brave face with clients? How do you guys handle that in terms of, if there were mood rings for real estate?
The first word that came to my mind when you said that, positive. That's the word that came to mind when you said that. What the mood ring? The mood is being positive. It is not easy, right? You have to train your mind to stay positive constantly, but it is like exercising a muscle in your brain, and you continue to exercise it. We say affirmations. We say daily gratitudes. Do those things instead of complaining. Maybe replace that with the thought of positive feeling, or with the thought of affirmations.
I love it. You can tell me if you agree, Jim or Janky. I've always been told, and this is what I live by, that even if you're frustrated, before I go talk to a client, I'm going to shift that, and I want to come to a place of positivity for that client. They're looking to us to be that rock and that beacon of like, there is hope. So even if you're frustrated, you can vent to someone else, you can talk internally, but I shift it before I go talk to a client. Are you guys the same?
Oh yeah. 100%. You have to be. That's part of like not going on the emotional roller coaster with them.
100%. 100%. And I think where I come along with that is that, what do I need to do now? My drive from home to the next property that I'm going to go show in about an hour is going to be all about what is it that'll get me in the rhythm right? Is it music? What kind of music, and what is it that I want to listen to? I have my songs. I have my list, that I play when I go on listing appointments, that I go and play on my showing appointments. And that'll just jazz me up and sing, all right, showtime, let's go,
I like it.
I keep that going.
I love it.
That's a perfect example of something that I always live by, which is your mood always follows action.
Yeah.
It's not the other way around. You can't think yourself into feeling better most of the time. It's the action that you take. That's the song that you pick and the playlist that you do. That's the action that you take to create the mood that you want to be into, not the other way around. And I think a lot of people think that they can, get into a particular or change their mindset or change their mood without taking any kind of an action. And that it just doesn't work.
And suddenly 10 minutes later, you're feeling better, right? I mean, it's really a cool thing about taking action.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
you have to take action.
This is probably a good place to wrap it up. Is there anything else we missed? We covered a lot of ground actually on mood maintenance, right? How to stay balanced in the changing market. Is there anything that we might have missed? Anyway, you're going to wrap this together? Are you feeling pretty good about it so far?
Really good. Let's go. This is, this is not the coffee speaking, by the way. This is me on a normal basis. My team wonders, every morning, let's go. What are we doing today? They're like, oh, she's awake. Like, hey, I was never sleeping. But, you got to set the right mindset, right? You got to set that positive as a leader or as even just a single agent or whoever you are out there. If you're not going to set the right tone, how do you expect your clients to, because they do feel your energy, right? We're humans. We feel each other's energy. We feed off of each other, right? So you are responsible for setting that tonality to, at the end of the day, making their goals happen.
I love it. Jonky, Jim, this is fun. And it looks like in 2 weeks, we're going to get deep and we're going to go all Eastern thought on money is energy, right? The energy, keep the energy flowing. If those of you who joined us late, you missed that part where we were talking a little about that. We thought it was a good topic for 2 weeks from now. So if you like that idea, you can drop it in the chat. We can come up with all sorts of different schools of thought around money being energy.
And what do you do? What do you do to get that energy flowing? The energy of money flowing. I have so much to say about that. I love it.
I love it too.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Wrap it up.
Just especially for newer agents out there, please remember that this is a season of real estate. It's not going to stay like this. It will shift. I promise. We've gone through this. We've gone through this many, many times. And this is a temporary thing that will not last forever, and things will balance itself out. The market just has to adjust itself. Don't attach yourself to the frantic nature of what's going on right now.
It's just that time in real estate. This shall pass too.
Yeah, a wonderful reminder, Jim. A wonderful reminder.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day, guys. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Good weekend. Bye, guys. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.